So, good afternoon to all of you. Today I'm going to discuss about the very important technique which is used during this pandemic, and we all realize that this technique, the qPCR technique, is a very simple and reliable technique, and it's occurs during the COVID period. So today we discuss about the applications of the qPCR as a tool for accurate molecular quantification for the gene analysis. So generally we know that the what is it, PCR, and we always confuse, some person always confuse between the qPCR, PCR, RT-PCR. So initially we study what is the PCR or what is the qPCR. So first we introduce the regarding the technology. For accurate PCR, we must know about the designing of the primer. So it is a very basic thing for starting any protocol, any experimental research. So we design a primer designing. Thereafter, what is the difference between the PCR and the qPCR, RT-PCR? We go for the about this the discussion about the PCR, qPCR, and the how we analyze and interpret the PCR data for getting the accurate result. So how to optimize the accuracy of the gene quantification by the qPCR, and what are the different guidelines is required for the publishing data of the PCR. So as we know that the PCR is a very simple technique, and this technique uses the Taq polymerase, and this technique is invented by the scientist uh, uh, Dr. Carey Mullis with the help of his co-worker. They design a very simple technique. They use the oligonucleotide primer, and which is hybridized with the opposite strand of the DNA. After it has been denatured and the extension, it's created two double strand target region. And each time
Vikram sir. He has some problem with net. He is fixing.
इंस्पेक्शन तो 1-2 का है ना अपना। इंस्पेक्शन तो 1-2 तारीख का है।
is okay. So basically, Dr. Kerry Mullis and co-worker designed a PCR reactions and this protocol, and he got the Nobel Prize in the 1993. So the basic PCR reaction is started with the target sequence. We design, we identify the particular target sequence, and we design a specific primer for the different strand, because we know that the DNA has two strands, lagging strand and long strand. So we design a two different primer, forward and reverse primer, to amplify the product. So in this PCR, you can have three steps. First step is denaturation, which help in the denaturing the two double strand DNA into single strand DNA, and then annealing with the annealing periods in which the forward and reverse primers bind with the two different uh, uh, strand of the DNA, and after that the extension reaction. So in the first cycle, you got the two copy of the desired target sequence. In the next cycle, the n multiplication or n number of copies, and it is going on, going on, going on. And the next step, you found the multiple copies. You can say the millions of copies at the end of the reaction. So you can say that this PCR reaction is contains three processes. Number one, denaturation. Number two, annealing, and number three is the extension. So three steps is there. First step is the denaturation. Number second, the annealing, and number three, the extension. So denaturation always 95 degrees Celsius. Depending on the polymerase, from which species of the bacteria we got the DNA polymerase. So it's depending on the temperature based on the DNA polymerase obtained from the species of bacteria. Some bacteria species, the DNA polymerase working at the 95, 97 degrees, 98, and some species occurring this denaturing the DNA, or you can say working at the low temperature. So depending on the DNA polymerase obtained from the this species, generally we got this DNA template polymerase from the tech polymerase from the bacteria. So the second stage is annealing. Annealing is the when the two strands bind with the forward and reverse primer. And this annealing temperature we also design depending on the designing of the primer. So generally we took this temperature 55 to 65, in between the 55 to 65. And mostly we designing a primer in such a way that most of the primer comes in the same range, so that we can run more PCR reaction in a single run, and the different gene of interest. And the extension stage, so three steps for the each and every PCR reaction. So for this, for optimization or for a PCR reaction, we need a specific primer, which is against the target. So target gene sequence, we need a specific primer. So first we need a general guidelines, or you can say the point to be noted that we use the different factor which ultimately affect the total quantification. So before designing a primer, you must be know some basic things about the primer designing. So for a primer designing, we select a sequence which is between the 18 to 30 nucleotide, and it comes under the target sequence. Number two, the GC content of this primer must be between the 40 to 60%, because if the more GC content is there, ultimately what happen, it's hamper the binding at the target region. Avoid the complementary sequence of primer, especially at the 3' end. Avoid the mismatch at the 3' end, and avoid the 3 and more GC, G or C.
Sorry for interruption. Due to the electricity cuts, we are unable to contact. So we are for the designing a experiment. We need a good primer. So for the designing of primer, we go for the some specific parameters for the kept in the under the mind during the process of the designing of the primer, because it's basically the primer is regarding the target sequence, and if you are designing a wrong primer or a primer which are unable to bind that it all ultimately decrease the efficiency of the binding with the target region, and ultimately it's hamper your result. So the designing of the primer is very important procedure or things during the developing a quantitative PCR, or you can say the PCR amplification reaction. So for designing a primer, you must be understand the different factors which influence the overall result. So the primer must be the between the 18 to 30 nucleotide base pair and for the target region. And during the designing of the primer, you must be think about the designing of primer in such a way that it's not amplify the DNA which are present due to the contamination of the DNA. And as GC content of this primer designing, you must be know that the GC content between the 40 to 60% of the total, and avoid the complementary sequence of the primer, especially at the end of the sequence. So avoid the mismatching at the 3' end, and avoid the 3' end more than 2 or 3 guanosine or cytosine at the 3' end. So a primer is selected at the target from the target sequence with very carefully. Use the same model for the calculating the TM in the primer designing software. When the several genes are desired, so it's help you to run a multiple primer set in a same cycling condition. So for example, you need a target gene as well as you need a reference gene. So you design a temperature or TM for the both primer, reference gene as well as the target gene. A similar temperature is helpful to go. It help in the preventing the different difference between the cycle. Because if you design a primer which contain that the target gene has separate temperature TM and the reference is separate TM, so ultimately what happen, where the cycle variation or the intercycle variation is hamper your result. So always you design in such a way that all the primers TM is similar in your experiment. And about the secondary structure within the primer sequence, so you must go for the different tools which ultimately rule out the whether this primer is forming a secondary structure or not, and avoid the cell complementary, especially 3' end of the primer. Otherwise, kya hoga? Primer dimers formation is occur. So try to design a primer with the similar TM and delta G. So the primer designing is eliminating amplification over the contamination of genomic DNA. How we can eliminate the contamination of the genomic DNA? For example, we are designing a primer which is near to the intron. So what happened? There is no product formation is there. So we design a primer in such a way that we include the one portion of the first exon and another few nucleotides from the second exon. So we got the foolproof primer which only synthesize or only amplify the mRNA, not the genomic DNA. Similarly, if the second condition we design a genomic DNA exon, so if we design an exon and intron, and for mRNA, these two exons are make a small product, and if the product is contaminated with the genomic DNA, we got a large product because it's also synthesize the intron also. So by we can detect the genomic DNA contamination through when we are using the formation of an exon primer on the first exon and the reverse primer from the second exon. So always we design a primer from the two exon region so that we got the good RT-PCR product. So different tools and designing softwares are available for the primer designing. So basically the fast PCR, primer 3, IDT, science tools, primary quest, oligo analyzers. So various primer designing tools are available online and free of cost. Some are costly in nature, some are freely designed. So before going to start an experiment, you first go for the in silico analysis of the particular primer so that the end result or your amplification result is more and more accurate. So when we see the conventional PCR based testing reaction, what happens? In this reaction, we first DNA isolate or extract the DNA or RNA, and this DNA is amplified. And for the testing, we go for the gel electrophoresis, where we run the product in the gel, agarose gel, and ultimately we go for the southern blotting for the DNA. Other method is to enzyme link hybridization, and we go to the product. So by which conventional PCR based testing method, we basically identify the end result of the product. So what is wrong with the agarose gel or based detection for a disease or for a amplification? Because this agarose based gel has a poor precision, low sensitivity, low resolution, non-automated, and it is sized by discrimination only. So agar size same hai, when the size is same, then you are unable to discriminate that this product is due for which gene, because if a 50 base pair size, it may be any gene. So this agarose gel only divide or differentiate on the basis of the size. result are not expressed as a number, and the ethidium bromide strength is not very quantitative. Same endpoint result with a different initial amount of the template, or different endpoint result with the same initial amount of the template. So these are the drawback of the normal conventional PCR, agarose gel PCR. So in the normal PCR, theoretically, the limitation of standard PCR for the result analysis point of view, the amplification theoretically we think about the amplification is exponential, but the exponential increase is limited. So a linear increase the following exponential phase. So log target DNA and the cycle number. So theoretically, what happens if the amount of product produced at every cycle should be double? It is theoretically, but reality, a plateau reaction is occur after some time of a cycle threshold. So in a standard PCR, all the, if we go for the 96 well plate, all the differentially amount, finally the endpoint has the same result, same fluorescence. So what is the real-time PCR? The real-time PCR is designed by the Russell and Dr. Russell Higuchi, and which is told that the fluorescence band detection of the amplification product to the use of the DNA binding dye or hybridization probe. So in this, we can real-time analyze the amplification of the one cycle to another cycle, next cycle, and the next cycle. So how this PCR product is doubling, or how this change in the ratio of the DNA. So in each and every cycle. So fluorescence based detection of the amplification product through the use of the DNA binding dyes, or second, hybridization probe. So real-time qPCR is used to quantify the input nucleic acid by measuring the number of cycles required to reach a set level of product. In contrast of the traditional PCR is used to amplify the DNA with the endpoint analysis to distinguish with the So the real-time PCR through the use of fluorescent molecules, real-time PCR has the ability to directly measure the reaction while amplification is taking place. So in qPCR amplification process allow to accurate quantification. So this real-time PCR has a 4 phase. The first phase is lag phase. So the PCR reaction curve is a 4 phase: linear phase, early exponential phase, log phase, and the plateau phase. So in the traditional PCR, what is the difference between the traditional PCR and real-time PCR is that the traditional PCR detect at the plateau phase, whereas the real-time PCR is detected at the log phase of the reaction. The exponential phase, when the initially different fold dilutions, for example, 5-fold dilution in the different sample, ultimately at the end point, all the given a same fluorescence or same end product. So this is the drawback in the normal PCR, but with the help of real-time PCR, we can identify the different points where this the gene expression or differential expression we can identify through the qPCR. So this qPCR data collection, in normal PCR we collect the data at this point, but then the qPCR, when the data is come under the log for exponential phase, and we collect the data throughout the exponential phase up to the end point. So every cycle or each and every machine has some background noise. So quencher or due to quencher or sub background noise. So for this, to removing the background noise from the our essay, we need to remove this background noise with the help of a threshold line or threshold setting. So after baseline subtracting, a threshold line is set by statically calculation at the fluorescence value above the background. This is called as threshold. So threshold, the point at which the fluorescence rise appreciably above the background. And the threshold can be placed anywhere in the exponential linear phase. So 96 reaction, identical reactions will have the almost identical CQ value in case of the traditional PCR, but in the case of the real-time PCR, they have the different values at the initial phase. So mathematical amplification, the ideal PCR product is equal to the template and the 2 raised to the power n, whereas n is the number of cycles. So if the cycle, the difference is the 2-fold difference in the starting template amount, then ultimately the 10-fold difference in the starting template amount. But in case of the normal PCR, there is no difference at the end of the cycle. So the threshold correlated strongly with the starting copy numbers. So from CT value, we can determine the initial copy number. And in this graph, you can easily understand the different initial CT value of the product. So for example, in this sample is 20, 22, 24, 26, depending on the dilutions. So for identification or analysis of the real-time PCR product, we need a specific dye which fluoresces and given the signal and each and every cycle. So the two type of the specially dye, or you can say probe chemistry, is used in the real-time PCR is the intercalated dyes and hybridizing probes. This intercalated dye binding with the why we use the intercalated dye, because this dye binding are inexpensive compared to the hybridized probe, and the sensitivity of this dye is more and more, you can say 125 times more about the brightly as compared to the ETBR, which is the only 25 times more fluorescence when the bind with the double-strand DNA. So it's given the more and more fluorescence and given the detection limit very low. So the cyber green, the advantage of the cyber green dye is to increase the advantage is experimentally only required primers, but disadvantage of the cyber green is it's potentially contribute the fluorescence from the non-specific product also. If primer dimer is formed, it's also bind with the primer dimer. And second is it's by using this intercalated dye, we are unable to multiplexing the assay. We cannot multiplex the assay. So this cyber green dye bind with the intercalated space, and when the extension of each and every cycle, the extension of the different number of copy numbers, ultimately they bind with the intercalated space, and when we applying the excitation wavelength, it's release the different wavelength of the fluorescence, which can be measured by the instrument, detection instrument. So when we choose the cybergreen and when we not choose the cybergreen, when the assays do not require specific or specific probe based, then and the detection of the more than 1,000 molecules, then we go for the cybergreen or evergreen or integrated dye method. Generally, screening of the transcript prior to the moving the probe based assay. And the third, when we go for the PCR, systematically in the full optimized, no primer dimer, no specific amplicon, no genomic DNA contamination. So ये अगर हम इन चीजों को rule out करते हैं तो when हम इसमें cybergreen में जा सकते हैं. When not to be choose a cybergreen, so allelic discrimination assay, multiplexing reaction, amplification of rare transcript, low level of pathogen detection. So now in this COVID testing, we use the probe-based assay, not the cybergreen-based assay. So in this we use for detection of the COVID, using because it's required a specific. In this reaction also use the multiplex different gene related to the coronavirus and the human, and also the different gene related to the this capsid and other things. So we're using the probe-based assay. So another important dye is the evergreen dye. Evergreen dye is similar to the cybergreen, and it is very low PCR inhibition, and it's increases sensitivity as compared to the more sensitive to cybergreen, and it's the fast PCR reaction as compared to cybergreen because it takes the little less time as compared to the cybergreen dye. So second strategy is the hybridization probe. So currently hybridization probe strategy fall into three categories. Number one, cleavage-based assay. It's including the Tagman assay and locked nucleic acid assay. Second is the displace stable probe assay, molecular backbone, and dual oligo fit probes. And the third strategy is probe incorporating directly into the primers. So Amplifon or Scorpion. So in this hybridizing techniques, how this work? This technique is work as we know that we design a two primer, forward primer and reverse primer. So this Tagman probe has a specific binding with the 3' and 5' end, and this contain the non-fluorescence quencher, binder groove binders, like receptor and the hot start DNA polymerase. So what happened in the initially, this reporter dye, or you can say the bind with the quencher. So it's not emit, or its emissions is absorbed by the quencher. So there is no fluorescence dye, no fluorescence detection. But when this forward primer is further synthesize the strain, ultimately what happens, this reporter dye is detected from the quencher and the release from this side, and it's produce the fluorescence. So more and more replacement of the breaking of this probe, more and more fluorescence is released or detected, and this is a specific method by which we can go to a specific target, because जो intercalated diets है वो non specific region को भी identify कर लेती है, but with the help of Tagman probe you only this probe is only given the fluorescence when it is specific to the target. So in the DNA polymerase assay 5' exonuclease activities, what happen? This DNA polymerase synthesize the new strand and it's remove the break down the reporters from the quencher, and ultimately what happened, this reporter is free from emitting the fluorescence, and this fluorescence is recorded by the special instrument in the RT-PCR, So Tegman prop sequence specific होते हैं. It does not needed much optimization, and but it is more expensive in the nature. So this fluoroprop, due to the presence of the quencher not showing the any fluorescence, but when this polymerase reaction is going on, ultimately it's break the linkage between the quencher and this fluoroprop is now activated and release the fluorescence. So cleavage-based assay is also this quencher and reporter dyes are bind with the specific portion of the 3' 5' end, and when the Tegman is increase the synthesis in this direction, ultimately this quencher and the reporter dyes are separated, and this reporter dye is release the different fluorescence waves which are reported or absorbed by the instrument. So Tegman probe advantage is the target specific fluorescence, and this is probe is used in the detection of SARS-CoV-2, and it's help in the multiplexing because जो कोविड के आपका जो हुआ था उसमें एक साथ 4 जीनों का एक सिंगल एसी के अंदर एनालिसिस किया गया था. But a disadvantage is that it's high initial cost and the assay design is not vital. So now we understand about the what is the different procedure, how we design a primer, what are the different chemistry of the qPCR, how we analyze the result. So important thing is how we analyze the data. So data analysis, this is different method is popular. Basically, initially the method is basic delta CT method. Then after that is coming the delta CT method, the Puffle equation. So different laboratories and different researchers are using the different protocols to analyze the data. So basic delta CT method is involving only just the method calculating the relative quantification on the basis of the different tissue. For example, one tissue showing the CQ value is 22, another tissue is showing the CQ value is 24. So delta CT is just the difference between the two different tissue, and it is not normalized with the reference gene. So the when we got the CQ value 2 and the 2-fold, that means the fold induction is 4 by this method. This method is absolutely not used now, and this because it not contain the reference gene, and you know that each and every cell has a different functional capability or functional ability, and if you are not using the reference gene, some tissue contain the different reference gene, the activity of the cell are also different. So this by this way we are not getting the absolute or accurate result. The second method for calculating the relative quantification is the delta CT method. In this, assuming the efficiency of the same efficiency of the each primer set. So the reference primer set and the gene of interest primer set. So we got the for example, we got the CT value of the first tissue is 21, another tissue is 20, and the gene of interest the CT value is 22 and 24. Now we first calculate the delta CT. First delta CT, the first delta CT is difference 1, 4, and then in this case second delta CT between the delta CT, between the first delta CT. So we got the fold induction of the 8-fold induction, but because you know that the efficiency is different primer had different efficiency, and this efficiency, the first we require to identify the efficiency of the particular primer, how this primer is binding, or then so we need to first identify or first we calculate the efficiency before going to the conducting a gene expression experiment. The efficiency of PCR should be 90 to 110%, and it is ideal for be below this and above this is ultimately manipulating the result, or your result is not accurate. So first you go for the efficiency to identify or understand the efficiency of your primer. So this Puffle method is also include the efficiency of target as well as the reference gene. And the formula for the fold induction is the efficiency of the target gene, efficiency of the reference gene, delta CT of the target. It's include both the control and sample. Similarly, the delta CT of the reference, control and sample. So the efficiency is the log 10 per slope. So for example, why we need to identify the efficiency? Why you need to calculate the efficiency? Because for example, in our lab we develop two different primer set, and we found that when we go for the serial dilution and we got a linear curve. So a linear curve, we found that the efficiency of this leptin primer is 92%, whereas the efficiency of interleukin primer 2 is 105%. So if the efficiency is below 90 and above the 95, what happens? It's ultimately affect your result. So amplification efficiency, you must, before starting or before going to the conducting any experiment, you must go for the to identify the amplification efficiency of a particular primer. So this amplification efficiency is very important, and the efficiency is can be calculated by the serial dilution of the primer product and the DNA, and you go for the amplification curve. So linear curve आना चाहिए 90 to 110 के बीच में उसकी efficiency होनी चाहिए. Below and above, it's ultimately defect the result. So for example, if the effect of efficiency, amplification efficiency, what effect of the amplification efficiency? So for example, the efficiency of one primer is 0.9 or 90%, and the another primer is 0.8%. So in the end of the 30 cycles, what happened? The product is almost different. You can see in the difference, the 0.9 efficiency, 0.8 efficiency. So difference of 0.1 in the amplification efficiency create a 5-fold difference in the final ratio product after the 30 cycle. So initially you can see that it's slightly different in the amplification. Ultimately, it creates a major difference, big difference. So you must be, before going to a gene expression experiment, you must go to identify the primer efficiency of each primer, and then after go for the calculating the result. So by the Puffle method for calculating the relative quantification, the tissue 1, tissue 2, and the reference set, we found that the efficiency is 90%, and the another primer set efficiency is 100%. So ultimately the fold induction is also changed. The target efficiency 2 and 1.9%. So ultimately fold expression is about the 7.5%. So when we compare the method of relative quantification calculations, we found that the delta CT method, no reference gene. The fold induction is 4%. Fold induction is 8% in case of the delta CT method. And the Puffle method is a good and efficient method because it's include both the reference gene and as well as the efficiency in the primer. We got the final fold induction is a 7.5. So because we know that the new no true reference gene is available, single gene reference gene we cannot recommend. We need at least 3 genes, and we take takes the geometric mean to the normalizing the fold expression. So always, because some reference genes are also changed with the treatment. Some reference genes, just say for example, GAPDH, another gene, it's also changed when we apply different treatment. For example, LH treatment, FSH treatment. So it also influence the increase the number of mitochondria. So number of mitochondria is increasing, ultimately increasing the GAPDH expression also. So for going to analyze gene expression data, you must be recommend that you go for at least three reference gene, and you took the geometric mean and then normalize your fold expression. So using a single reference gene lead to the erroneous normalization up to 3-fold and 6.4-fold in the some cases. So आप ये देखिए अगर 3-fold और 6.4-fold अगर आपका रिजल्ट जो है वो वेरी करेगा तो आप सोचेंगे कि आपका जो एक्सप्रेशन है वो इट इज significant, but it's maybe due to the you pick the wrong reference gene. So always you took 3 reference gene and you go for the geometric mean to normalize your fold expression. So this site is noted. MET gene is a site where you go for the first you design your target gene and you go for to select the specific reference housekeeping gene for your candidate gene. So now we study about the we learn about the what are the PCR, what are the different reaction of the PCR and other things. So now what are the advantages of the real-time PCR and the disadvantages of the PCR, and also what is the application of the PCR. So the advantage of the PCR, real-time PCR, is it is a rapid cycling. It's required very less time. It's high sample thorough output, 200 samples, more than 200 samples, 300 samples nowadays per day you can analyze by this method. Low contamination risk. It is very sensitive. It's can be detect up to 3 picogram level, and it is has a broad dynamic range, 10 to 10 to the power 10 copies. Its reproducibility is very high. Only the cycle variation is less than 2%, and it's allow for the quantification of the result, and it is software driven operation. So it is easy to calculate your data and other things. But the disadvantage of the real time is that currently technology has limited capacity for multiplexing. Simultaneously, you can detect only 2 targets in this limit, and the development of the protocol needs to high level of technical skill and support. And most important is the capital involvement. So for the instrument purchasing, the more capital cost is required to establish the facility. Otherwise, this is a very good techniques to analyze the real-time data, gene expression. So what is the application of this real-time? Real-time reaction monitoring provides the information relatively or absolutely. If you go for the absolute measurement of the starting material, so you need the standards. Each and every time you run the standard. So for example, for example, you are going to the absolute counting of the viral load or bacterial load in a particular sample. So you need the standard samples. You need the standard virus which contain the specific number. So for example, 1,000, 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, and go for the serial dilution, and you run with your sample like a ELISA. Another method is to measure the starting material with the relative expression. Say for example, gene expression in the first stage, second stage, third stage. It is a relatively we go for the one stage and with the control. You can first stage use as a control or one, and then we compare with the relative expression with the first stage 1, 2, 1, 3, 1, 4, and 1, 5, whatever the steps. So this relative expression, the most commonly used in the gene expression studies is relative expression. But in case of the isolation and identification of the pathogen and the quantity of the pathogen, we need and we go for the absolute quantification. So the gene expression study, the application of this real-time PCR is gene expression study, methylation specific PCR, microarray validation, transgenic analysis, GMO testing, viral and bacterial load present in the particular sample or particular animal, allelic discriminations study. So this now we know about the what are the different method and how this PCR, qPCR, what are the different primer designing and each and everything. Now we are how we can optimize the accuracy of gene quantification by the qPCR. So the strategies depending on the, because each and every step in this PCR reaction is important. So pre-PCR steps, during PCR step, what important things we kept in mind during pre-PCR step, PCR step, post-PCR step. So pre-PCR step, the tissue handling, RNA extraction, reverse transcription steps. Because each and every step, we need to understand that any contamination, anything can spoil overall our gene expression study. So each and every steps we must be kept in mind that we all these stage is a checkpoint. So PCR step, PCR enzymes, PCR primer designing, detection dye, plastic wear, sealing, depending on the which type of assay or which type of gene expression we want. The post PCR steps, the data acquisition, background correction, quantification method, efficiency correction, normalization of with the help of the different reference gene, statistical testing, each and every step. If you are missing or you are lacking in this any step, ultimately it's affect your result. So the various factor affecting the process of the PCR quantification, and you know that it's starting from the source of sample, how we what are the different type of sample sources, sample suitability, sample homogeneity, variations कितना है सैंपल के अंदर, अलग अलग एनिमल से लिया, अलग अलग स्पीशीज से लिया, और या फिर कलेक्शंस के टाइम में सैंपल के टाइप क्या है, ब्लड, it is collecting from the blood or cell tissue. So it's depending which type of the sample and the sample storage. Sample storage also hamper your ultimately the reaction. So the time between the collection and storage, the storage temperature, storage type, freezing thawing cycle. Similarly, the RNA extraction method. So when you are going to the long experiment, you does not change the chemicals. Each and every RNA extraction, you use the same chemical. Otherwise, some different companies chemicals has the different efficiency of this. You can say the extraction process. So after that, the DNA treatment. So in a single experiment, you don't change the company. You use the same company product so that you got the less variation in yield and also the integrity purity, integrity. And for each and every complete protocol, you must to use the same thermocycle as possible as, because the different thermocycle is also has the slightly variations in the efficiency, working efficiency. So you use the same thermocycler for the different gene experiment in a for a single protocol. You follow the single protocol, same protocol for each and every time. Quantification method, and you are using the different quantification method and the concentration of the standard. So this concentration of standard is the CQ, the different platform is there, linearity of the method. So you know that each and every factor, it's influence your ultimately your result. So you always keep in mind that you does not change anything for an entire or whole process. Not you just go for one thermal cycle or one different type of chemicals, and you, because the chemicals is also create a variations, intra-assay variations, and the variation between due to the chemicals. So always when you design an experiment, you purchase a same company, same instrument you use to take the reading. Say for example, nano drop, you took the reading of the same nano drop. Otherwise, the different nano drop have the different settings and different values. So for designing a PCR reaction, or you must understand the PCR. PCR means the prepare, cycle, and reporting. So for preparing the experimental designing, gene versus sample, maximize the preparation and the quality control, designing in silico validation, and the selection validation, reference gene का आपको selection करना है. ऐसे which assay you use and design in silico first before going to the running a cycle. So first you design an experiment, then you go for the sample collection, must be control the quality of each and every time, and design a assay in silico, design a primer and other things. After that, the reporting is very important to relative quantification, the efficiency correction, you use the multiple reference gene for the normalization, internal calibration, and the error propagation. So this biostatical analysis, you go for the biological replication, log transformation of the data, selection of the proper statistical test, and during the reporting, you follow the guidelines of MIQE guidelines, so that it is no confusion and it is globally accepted guidelines. So MIQE guidelines is a globally accepted guideline. So before you starting your protocol or your experiment, you go for the checklist, you prepare a checklist, and you collect the information requiring the different reactions and the different steps. Already I have told you the different steps. So first you identify whether this sample is from biopsy or how this sample is collected, what the method of preservation of this sample, annihilator or formalin or liquid nitrogen, and this sample is freeze or frozen, formalin based. What are the different components? Is, for example, the extraction method is used. So for example, triazole, which company triazole is using, nanodrop, what is the RIN value, what are the different types of chemicals you use, each and everything, you make a checklist before you are going to analyze the data. And this data analyze, data justification, biological replications kya hai, what is the biological replication, what are the CQ value, each and everything you note down in a checklist. Then after go for the analysis of the sample. So what are the different sources of the biasness during the experiment in the RNA measurement by the RT-qPCR, and the solution of this biasness. So the RNA extraction, what is the biasness? The poor extraction efficiency, limited amount of the RNA available, biasness toward the more abundant target with the minority species potentially measured as absent. So you first optimize the extraction process by the comparing the different procedure, and the most biasness is the RNA quality. So RNA degradation will lead to the reduce the evidence of the mRNA species. So you avoid the multiple freezing thawing cycle, use the multiple aliquot of the RNA or cDNA. It is compressible, but essentially to reduce the impact of the freezing thawing. Second, the bias on the cDNA production and reduce the detection sensitivity with the some species being measured as the absence and may affect the some target more than other. So use the RNA or DNase free plastic, RNase decontamination solution and spraying, and the molecular grade distilled water. Change the glove frequently during the different stage of the RNA isolation and the entire procedure of the RNA extraction, and consider the multiple measurement of the mRNA at the different location of the transcript. Similarly, the non-linearities of the method and the RNA cDNA storage. So RNA and cDNA degrade over a time. So it evaluates the stability of the RNA under the storage condition during the study period. So if you are collecting RNA from one time, then for frequently you evaluate the RNA storage condition. What are the degradation rate of the RNA or DNA? You normally we kept the -20, but if you want to the long-term preservation of the RNA and the cDNA, you kept in the -80, and you make a aliquots. So because each and every time you go for the gene expression study, you the frozen thaw and repeated thawing and freezing, ultimately it's decrease the concentration of the cDNA or RNA, or it degrade over a time. So you must make a aliquots of the cDNA, and you run the and kept into the -80, so that it's preserve your RNA or cDNA. Non-linearity method causing the inhibition of the enzyme inefficiency, resulting in the not all the RNA being converted into cDNA. So it's depending on the validation of the reverse transcription for the sample type, include appropriate control, and add little or too much RNA. Aim to not to add the little RNA or too much RNA or widely different amount of the RNA in reverse transcription reaction. You first calculate with the nanodrop and you go for the adding the formation of cDNA. If you are adding too much or too little RNA, ultimately it's causing the all the RNA. It may be possibly that not all the RNA is converted into cDNA during reverse transcription stage. So you must keep in mind that during the cDNA synthesis, you each and every time you go for the nanodrop reading, then after you go for the calculation and go the cDNA production. Inappropriate calibration. So the DNA standard is used when the measuring the RNA, and the calibration prepared in the different background material matrix to unknown sample. So ensure that the calibration are validated and appropriate for the sample type, and the sample matrix are spiked with them. The instrument also reverse transcription reaction, the PCR performed with the differing efficiency at the different position on the thermal cycle, owing to the variation, the temperature, ramping, and the thermal overshoot. It is very important that I already told that you are different thermal cycle has a different their own program, and their efficiency. So ensure the instrument maintained and calibrated is up to date. In a single instrument also, sometimes the calibration is required. So each and every year you need to calibrate your real-time PCR and rearrange the distribution of the sample when performing the replication experiment by performing the plate randomization. Pipettes, so poorly calibrated pipettes can lead to considerable systematic bias. If your pipette is not calibrated properly, what happens that you are going for a very good design. You design a very good experiment, and but the result is not coming up to the mark, because if you are not using a calibrated pipette, then each and every time you are putting a different cDNA in the reaction. So it is very important to routinely calibrate the pipette. Is very essential, where the accurate is paramount. So gravimetric dilution will be further reduce the systematic bias even with the calibrated pipette. So pre-PCR step and how we optimize the RNA quantity. So first, this RNA will be free with the RNase, because this RNase is degrade over a time to the RNA. Be free from the protein, as it's verified at the absorbance 260 at 280. Be free from the genomic DNA. The total RNA should not be fragmented. Only 2 band to 28S and 18S RNA ratio should be roughly between the 1.8 to 2, and the RIN value is about the at least 5. And be free from the enzymatic inhibitors. So verifying at the absorbance 260, 230, or you can say 260 or 320 in the later RT and PCR reaction. And this is also free from any substances that complex with the essential cofactor of the qPCR reaction mixture. So for example, magnesium, Mg, Mn, and any other nucleases which might degrade the RNA or hamper the PCR reactions. During PCR detection chemistry, DNA polymerase use hot start enzyme for the PCR reaction. It's help in the preventing the degradation of the DNA polymerase. So when you're using the hot start enzyme, it's activate only when the temperature is increased. A specific temperature. Be aware that the RNA integrity and the inhibitor can influence the polymerase activities. So you must check the there is no inhibitors present in the your cDNA. Enzymes with the proofreading activity are recommended. So fidelity, the error as per the nucleotide polymerization. So it's improved with the low magnesium and the low DNTP concentration. Reverse transcriptase. So reverse transcriptase enzyme without RNase activities are recommended, especially in the sample with the low RNA quantity and quality. So experimental evolution of the RT reagent in the pre-PCR optimization study is recommended, and use the high quality RNA in the RT reaction. Use the temperature stable RT enzymes and the heat sample at the 60 degree before the RT to minimize the secondary RNA structure. So these are the different strategies which optimize the ultimately result. So RNA RT-PCR priming strategies. So gene specific priming, we develop a gene specific priming, oligo-DT or polygo-DT priming, random priming using the hexamer, octamer, and decamer primers. So RT protocols, we generally recommend the RNA should be heated up to 65 degrees for 5 minutes before the RT reaction to open the secondary RNA structure, allow to the better annealing of the primers. So RT enzyme should be at least the substances given to the master mix, keeping the enzyme on the ice for as long as possible, and choose the replicate as early as possible to decrease the error accumulation, the best as the extraction step. For intercalated fluoroprobe dye. We use the real-time PCR. The most popular second generation intercalated dye is Cybergreen or Evergreen. We are now using the Evergreen dye. So the third generation dye is also using the Evergreen dye, which is highly efficient, and the uh, stability is more than as compared to the Cybergreen. So these dyes are non-toxic in the nature, and the polymerase and exhibit the greater stability at the higher temperature than the earlier dyes. So it's allow the higher concentration to be used in the reaction mixture, and the resulting in the increase the sensitivity of the detection. So main benefit of this dye is they are low running cost and easy to handling in the primer designing SS setup. So for the general recommendation for the PCR cofactor additives, magnesium concentration have to be higher than the DNTP concentration in the PCR reaction. Number one. Number two, the mixture of the potassium and ammonium ions in the PCM buffer should be preferred. The RNA extraction should be performed with the care, should not contain any inhibitors. Working with the tissue which have the natural inhibitors, and PCR enhancers should be used. So PCR enhancer like BSA, DMSO, glycerol 220 is used to enhance the PCR reaction. So various cofactors required. Consumable we use for the real-time PCR, the single tubes with the caps, strips with the strip caps, plastics with the various sealing frames. So the white plates showing the higher fluorescence reflections, and the heat sealing reduce the evaporation and the border effect. So consumable have the influence on the data variability. So I already told you that each and every step you use the same time consumable also. So for example, if you are using the single tube, so you use the single tube for all the experiment procedure, not to change the consumable also, because what happened, because each and every have the some variation to reflecting the fluorescence, so it's also cause the variation in the different assay. So for lastly, after that we publishing the data. So before publishing data, you need to first understand what are the different MIQs. The minimum information for the publication of the quantitative real-time PCR experiment is shows that by the Bustin et al. It shows that the different minimum information required before the publishing in the data, so that it's globally this guidelines is globally accepted, and it is before you are publishing, you know what are the different MIQ guidelines. It's available on the sites. So because inadequate sample storage and preparation, what are the variations? Different variations is coming. So for example, inadequate sample storage and preparation, it's variable variation in the result. Similarly, the poor choice of the primer and the probe, inefficient assay performance, inappropriate data, statistical analysis, it's ultimately misleading the result. So you know the different MIQ QE before publishing the data. So the normalization is essential component for the reliable qPCR assay, because this process control for the variation in the extraction yield, reverse transcription yield, and the efficiency of the amplification, thus enabling the comparison of the mRNA concentration across the different samples. So minimum information for the publication of the quantitative PCR experiment MIQ guidelines contain the how we extract the nucleic acid, what are the procedure, what are the different kits we are using. So all these things we including during the publication. We also take the DNS RNA treatment, each and every step purity, and each and every step we always disclose during the publication, so that our result can be similarly in the reverse transcription. So during reverse transcription, how we what are the complete reaction amount of the RNA we are using, what are the volume of the reaction volume, temperature, timing, manufacture, reagent, each and everything we include during the publication. qPCR target information, gene symbol, each and every MIQ guidelines are present on the internet. You go for this first before you publishing the data. So each and every steps has specific guidelines which are present on the net. So in summary, ultimately we can say that this qPCR, the descent development and the gene quantification strategy, the fluorescence chemistry, and the instrumentation have led to the development of the various assay whereby the mRNA transcripts can be quantified precisely in the very short time, and by application of this concept to the completely monitoring the stepwise process, right from the sampling to the preparing the RNA sample and subsequently method for the normalization. The qPCR will become a more precisely reproducible, which in turn will improve the impact and the livelihood. That finding will be the translated to the routine clinical uses. So nowadays, most of the clinical reactions, say for example, the detection of dengue and other diseases, viral diseases are common, and all are using this real-time PCR. And recently, I already told you that the COVID, SARS-CoV-2 virus is also detecting through this technique, which is a very reliable technique about all other techniques. So the quantification strategies used must be designed according to the researcher demand, but the most highly optimized and accurately validate. So in future prospect, we can say that there is a need of greater standardization of the applied assay to create an experiment expression result comparable between the runs, between the real-time qPCR platforms, and between the different laboratories globally. Because one assay we are conducting in the India and other countries, so slightly variation is there. So now the future prospecting is there, then standardization is more and more standardization of this technique is needed. Still some lack is there. So the inter-assay variation, inter-platform variation is normalized or minimized. So thank you very much for the patience listening to all of you. And I'm very sorry because due to the interruption of the electricity, and we are unable to continue in between the 2 times. We are unable to continue this lecture.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for your illustration about the real-time qPCR. Now the participants may ask the questions. We have one question in the chat box. Dr. Anil? Dr. Anil, are you here? Okay, he writes his question that whether absolute or relative quantification is best to know the treatment efficacy of a drug against a disease treatment.
This for the efficacy of a drug, it's better we go for the absolute amplification, because we need to design a specific drug, and therefore we need to the specific receptor and other things. So absolute quantification is a good techniques.
Any other participant?
Good evening, sir.
Good
I
evening.
have a very silly question. I saw in one slide that DNA polymerase has 5 to 3' exonuclease activity, and thus it removes the Tachman reporter and the probe. So why does it not start achieving the template DNA itself from the 5' end?
Because this activity is 3' to 5'.
Which activity, sir? I did not get.
So for we are designing the primer, the both primer 3' to 5', 5' to 3', reverse and forward primer. So
Yes.
first this forward primer is binding with this template, and then the synthesis of the DNA is going on to 5' to 3'. Therefore, it's cleavage at the site, the Tachman probe.
Okay. Okay, sir. Thank you. Thank you.
Any other question? If no, then thank you, Dr. Vikrant sir, for accepting our invitation and come here online and give such a nice talk about this qPCR. I'm very much thankful to you that you spare the time, as I know that you are a very busy person in the NRL laboratory at IVRI. Thank you, sir, for your valuable time.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
And now this is the last lecture for today. Tomorrow we will meet at 10:30. The link for the meeting will remain same for whole 5 days. The same link will work on.